Hello everyone, this is Lixiang Zhao from Xi'an Jiaotong Developer University. I would like to introduce some selection techniques for the particle dataset in an immersive environment. Immersive environment experienced by VR, AR, and MR is receiving attention from visualization researchers who aim to improve ways of understanding and exploring complex data. The stereo rendering of the immersive environment enhances the user's comprehension of the data. Users are able to walk around and explore the data with 6 input devices. Selection is a fundamental step for many kinds of visualization tasks. And the question here is how to select the particles in the immersive environment efficiently. Well, the common idea is to use a predefined shape and select the particles inside. For example, users can hold a predefined widget to brush the target. Or they can put their hand on the target and touch the particles directly. Or rely on a device and manually push it in the environment. Or rely on some hardware, like a tangible interface to define a range. Most of techniques require a high level of manual control. Users need to select the target very carefully. We want users to select spatial data based on their needs without too much effort. The point is that what they expect. Suppose we put the users inside an immersive environment. What are they going to select, and how do they select them? That's why we conducted a think aloud user study. We are going to see if the targets are like that, and how they select the target. What are their strategies? So we marked some interesting parts in yellow and asked them to tell us their feelings and strategies. We realized that it will be easy for the user to view the data from the outside. That's why we have hand-side and table-side visualization, which makes it easier to have a whole picture of the data than in the room-side visualization. So our research focuses on this part. Next is the input strategy. We found that if the user wants to select a bowl shape, they either will paint on the top of the target or make a circle around it. Others prefer to point at the target and drag to adjust the selection boundary. For the filament structure, users tend to trace along it or draw the helix around it. For the complex shape, it's not easy to describe the whole structure through 3D input, so they would like to draw some part of the shape on the data directly. But at the same time, we also realize that the interaction will not always be precise in an immersive environment. It cannot always follow a structure. Although users want to input precisely, they cannot. So our task is, how do we support them to select what they want without a precise input? Well, based on these findings, we propose the design considerations. The new selection techniques should handle various target shapes and the contexts. Although it's hard for users to have a precise input, the method should help them to select the region they want. It also should support a partial selection and the threshold adjustment. So we create 3 selection techniques, including MeTABrush, MeTaPoint, and MeTaPaint. The common idea is that the user can give a 3D point or stroke in the immersive environment, and the output is the intended 3D selection region. I will introduce them one by one. The first one is MeTaPoint. A good thing for the MeTaPoint is that if the user can see the target clearly, then they can put their contacting point around the target and drag the controller to define the region. The boundary is generated based on the data density threshold, and the user has the full control of the boundary because it always follows the contacting point. This idea is very interesting since the user can immediately see the selection result and adjust the boundary to a desired subspace. Even if the contacting point is not on the target, our algorithm will shift the input to the dense area. Now, we have a very complex data. The user wants to brush on one branch of the data. They will decide how much to brush, and we want to support them to select exactly what they expect, not the whole branch, but when they stop, the selection also stops. That's why we developed the second method, MeTABrush. The selection region is dependent on how much the user brushes. Okay, although the red line is around the ring, not at the center of the ring, the algorithm can understand user intention and select the correct part. And for the third method, sometimes when the user detects a target, they want to use a brush to describe the target's shape roughly. We want to support them to do so, and we developed MeTAPaint. Users can brush on the top of the structure, and we will see which one meets the input most, and decide which will be selected. Suppose the user wants to select the inner half bowl. The user draws the most inputs on it, and a little bit on the outside shell. Our algorithm will see that most input focuses on the inner part, so the inner part will be selected. All of our methods support users to select the particles according to their intentions. Even without a preset input, we can still select what they want. So, we conducted a user study to determine which method will be better in different scenarios. We compared our three methods with the baseline method, in which the user takes a spherical widget to brush the target. We support users to undo, redo, and deselect the particles. We also support them to adjust the density threshold. We have 5 tasks, including 4 explicit tasks, that the user has a clear idea of the target in yellow. We also have an implicit goal task. The highlighted target will disappear, so the user needs to remember where the targets are and select based on the memory. We measured the time and error, and we also asked the subjective opinions. Before the study, we made the prediction according to the algorithms and our understanding. As you can see, the pink method indicates the good performance in each task, and the blue indicates the relatively poor performance. The prediction is pre-registered on OSF. As you can see, the pink color means a good method performance in our prediction. The result meets our expectation. From the result, we found that MeTAPoint and MeTAPaint are faster than other methods for cluster-like structures. MeTABrush is faster than other techniques for the branch-like structures. All MeTACAST techniques are more accurate than baseline, except in task 5, where the baseline has a similar accuracy with the MeTAPoint and the MeTAPaint. And for the branch-like structure, MeTABrush is more accurate than other techniques. We compared MeTACAST with the existing spatial selection techniques in several dimensions. First, for the selection strategy, we have manual and semi-automatic methods. Manual selection always requires a high input precision, since the user needs to control it very carefully. It has a very high workload. Semi-automatic methods for both 2D and 3D input are designed to consider users' intention and the data characteristics. They significantly enhance selection accuracy and efficiency, while reducing the user's physical workload and the input precision. Secondly, it is usually easier to select the whole structure. If the technique is supposed to select a part of the target, then it requires more input precision, and the user needs to pay more attention to control. Third, when the user inputs through the flat surface on the 2D screen. They can draw a lasso on the surface to define a specific selection range. It's relatively easy for them to express the range they want. Thus, they need less input precision. However, although the input has more dimensions in the immersive environment than in the 2D case, the users can brush or control the device freely in the 3D space. It's still hard for them to define a precise geometric region with a simple brush or the movement. Therefore, they need more effort to express what they want to get a good selected result. If you want to reduce this effort, more data features should be considered to predict what parts users may expect. Well, for the methods work semi-automatically in the 3D immersive environment, and the input precision requirement is low. With the natural metaphor of point, drag, and brush, enabling both the whole and the partial selection, and the density threshold adjustment, then that's our work, MeTACAST. In this work, we propose MeTACAST. The basic idea is that users select visually interesting or important locations. These regions of interest contain key information that causes the feature to be visible, like density distribution, geometric shape, and position. Our techniques work for various targets and contexts with simple, natural, and approximate fixed-depth input. It is applicable to all the volumetric data with a scalar field. Target and context-aware techniques are important in three situations. First, when the user is familiar with the dataset features. Second, when occlusion and perception impede the user's ability to see, judge, or reach the target. And third, when the user has a clear idea about the target and expects to use a simple and fast input to select it. Thanks for your attention. For more details, please refer to our websites.